My two children, because of these films, have taken up the pianos. One of the nicest things that happens after these films is when people email me saying that they took their children who had kind of given up the piano and the films made them take it up again. I was recommended, when I did the first one, which was Mozart, to only film one piece of music and make a whole biography just through that one piece of music. I chose to go a much more complicated and difficult way, which was to try and film as much music and as varied music as possible. And in the end, I think in Mozart there are 63 different live performances, and that's true also of Beethoven. Our archive now is full of hours and hours and hours and hours. What I found with historians and musicians is that actually people don't ask them very often. It's not that often that a musician will be asked about the biography of a... It's not that often actually they're asked beyond a bit of press for a concert. They don't often get to participate in documentaries. I think what slightly surprised me was that when certainly with Mozart, and also I did it with Beethoven, I would go to concerts and then I would chat to the audience in the interval and ask them, you know, what do you know about, essentially I'd say, what do you know about Mozart, what do you know about Beethoven? These are people that went to concerts at the Royal Festival Hall or the Barbican in London. I was quite surprised, in a way people knew pretty little. Not because they weren't intelligent, but just because they didn't have the information. Overall, what you come away with, I think, is a completely new and fresh understanding of who each of these individuals was. With Mozart, there's a slight difference because a lot of people have seen Amadeus. That was their understanding of Mozart. And that was quite nice for me because actually the real Mozart is very different. And that was quite fun for me to play with. There's so much myth from that film. People still say, oh, he was poisoned by Salieri, he was buried in a pauper's grave. None of this is true. But even the character is different. He was an extremely serious, hard-working man. You know, he wasn't this flighty individual that you see in the film. But it's true of Beethoven too. People think he was this miserable old man all his life. He wasn't. Most of his life he was young, handsome, desperate to fall in love with somebody who would fall in love with him. Very optimistic. What struck me with him was that he had optimism for the human race, which we probably don't share. Chopin, much more varied musical output than people seem to think. He did have physical ailments, but that didn't make him any weaker intellectually. Funnier than people think. I think that the overall message of all the films, they are totally passionate about their craft. They're not born with this genius. They're babies just like you and I. Maybe there's something, who can tell, maybe there's something genetically, or there's something, and if you're religious, maybe there's something from God. Essentially, from a very early age, they have this passion, and then they can't help themselves. It's all they want to do. I mean, Beethoven, when he's ill, at the end of his life, he asked somebody to come in so he can learn more about the strings of a violin. He asked somebody to bring him the scores of Handel. That, to me, was the most extraordinary thing about them, is that even after long journeys, even with great sickness, no money, in poverty, all sorts of strains, they were still writing all the time, listening to other people's music, seeking information. And that is inspirational to me.